Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the all-new Prius because Toyota has made some pretty big improvements with this Prius. Before we get into this video though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. If you want to see more content just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post these videos every single day. Let's get right into it. Let's start with the styling on this new Prius because it looks absolutely fantastic on the outside. They have completely redesigned the looks, and they've basically taken a lot of design cues from the new Toyota Crown, which I don't think is a bad thing because the Crown looks really good. So completely redesigned headlights, and if you look at like the side of the car with the photos I have in this video, that also looks really cool. It's got kind of like these big hips in the back, and yeah, just overall, it's a really good looking car. Let me know what you guys think about the new exterior design, but like, I feel like this is a Prius that's actually worth getting just from a looks perspective. Now, the thing you're probably the most interested in is going to be the powertrains. So I do need to put a quick disclaimer that I'm making this video before the official US release because I don't have time to make a video after the US release. I've got a bunch of things going on this week. But we can expect that at least two of these powertrains are going to come to the US market, and I'll tell you which ones I think we will see. So we are still going to have the 1.8 liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder paired to a hybrid system and all-wheel drive with the Prius and an eCVT. I need to say eCVT because people got mad at me for not properly saying that in the last video because I just said CVT, but there is a big difference. But anyways, it sounds like this is going to have about the same amount of power as before, so it's pretty much going to remain unchanged. I don't think we're going to see this powertrain in the US market because the US market likes horsepower, and that's not really about horsepower. Now we have a new naturally aspirated 2-liter four-cylinder paired to a standard hybrid system just like that 1.8 liter. However, this powertrain now puts out 193 horsepower, so that is significantly more than the 121 of the previous generation of the 1.8 liter. And again, that's what people here in the US want, is they want power. So this will most likely be the base powertrain we get here in the US market. Now on top of that, Toyota hasn't released official fuel economy figures, but it looks like it's going to be able to get somewhere in the 60 mile per gallon range with this powertrain, which, I mean, an all-wheel drive car that can get 60 miles per gallon, that is absolutely fantastic. So good job on that side of things. Now, the most exciting powertrain, in my opinion, is the new plug-in hybrid, 220 horsepower. And since it's a plug-in hybrid, it has over 30 miles of driving electric range, actually closer to 40 miles of driving electric range. Toyota says this is 50% more efficient, or 50% more range rather, compared to the outgoing version with this plug-in hybrid. And so, I mean, the sky is the limit when it comes to fuel economy with that, because if you just charge it overnight and you only drive the 30 or so miles, then you never have to use gas with this new plug-in hybrid model. And again, 220 horsepower for a Prius is actually really solid. So those are the two powertrains that we will most likely see in the US market. And I guess I'll look like a complete clown after the release if I'm wrong on those. But anyways, going from that to the interior, Toyota has basically taken the interior of the BZ4X and thrown it at the Prius. And so it pretty much has the same exact layout with the infotainment system, with the controls below the infotainment system, and then also with the gauge cluster that's kind of like high up on the dash. And again, you guys can see that with the photos. So it literally looks like it's completely shared. So if you like that new BZ4X interior, like the Prius interior, still has a weird shifter. Some people said that they really like that shifter. So it's not the same as the outgoing model. It's like in the center console area, but it's still kind of interesting looking. But overall, the interior, I think, still has that kind of futuristic look that the Prius is known for, but it definitely looks quite a bit more modern compared to the outgoing model. Now let's talk about what this means for the Prius and how this is going to affect the broader market, both within the hybrid world and then also within the fully electric world, because yes, this will affect EVs, despite the headlines that you're seeing with Toyota taking a misstep by releasing a hybrid Prius rather than a fully electric Prius. First off, in terms of what this means for the Prius, this is really big for the Prius because this is the first time that we have a Prius that, in my opinion, is actually a really desirable car. And I know some people will argue with me, but in the past, the Prius was just a car that got good fuel economy, good A to B car that is kind of ugly. But this new Prius, having over 200 horsepower and having a really solid plug-in hybrid option, is something that's really desirable for a lot of people, because it's something that will probably actually be somewhat fun to drive, and it looks good, so it's kind of classy, right? It's got a lot going for it. So you're going to see a lot of demographics that weren't normally Prius buyers in the past that'll actually go for this new Prius because of what Toyota's done. So I think that, again, they did a really good job with that. Now, for the broader hybrid market, this is going to put a lot of pressure on a lot of other automakers to kind of improve things, because first off, it looks like this Prius is going to be all-wheel drive as standard. That's just what Toyota wants to do with the Prius now. And a lot of the plug-in hybrids that you're seeing that will compete against the Prius are pretty much almost always two-wheel drive. A good example is the new Kia Niro plug-in hybrid. That one is front-wheel drive, and that one's around $40,000, which is probably about the price of what this Prius will be fully loaded with the plug-in hybrid. But again, front-wheel drive. And so, yeah, I think it's going to push some of the other automakers to make some changes. And then also, again, on the looks department, like the Kia Niro is an okay-looking vehicle, but it's not nearly as good-looking as this new Prius. And so it'll kind of push some changes. Now, for the broader EV market, I think this new Prius is actually going to be really appealing to a lot of people that are actually traditional EV buyers within today's market, because a lot of people are sick and tired of dealing with the charging infrastructure we have, and then also with range anxiety as well. And a plug-in hybrid fixes that, because, well, if you run out of electric driving range, then you can use the gas-powered engine and you can just keep on going, and you can fill up at gas stations. Now, obviously, the emissions are technically higher with a Prius versus a fully electric vehicle, but I've mentioned this in several videos. I really do think that hybrids are the future over fully electric vehicles, just because of how versatile they are. I mean, think about this. You can charge the vehicle at your house every single day, and if you have a short commute, you're not going to use any gas. And then if you want to go on a long trip, you don't have to deal with the spotty charging infrastructure that we have. You can just fill up at gas stations. And again, the Prius is still extremely fuel efficient. You'll be able to get at least 50, 60, maybe even 70 miles per gallon with this, depending on conditions and how you drive. And so, yeah, you're spending money on gas, but I mean, that is super efficient and that is super economical overall. And so I think we're going to kind of see a shift back towards these vehicles. So even though a lot of people are giving Toyota crap for not releasing a fully electric Prius, I think that this is actually the route to go, because until we have better charging infrastructure in the US, and until availability of materials is better with the materials that are used to build battery packs for fully electric vehicles, I think focusing on building these smaller battery packs for hybrids is just the route to go. So I really do think that Toyota is forward thinking by keeping the Prius a hybrid at this point. And, you know, they are diving into some, you know, electrification with like the BZ4X. So it's not like they're completely out of electrification, but I think they're taking the safe route that's going to be really good, especially for their customers. That's pretty much going to sum things up for today's video, talking about this new Prius, and I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say about this new Prius. You can probably tell I'm really excited. This is like the first time I've ever been excited about a Prius, but I just think that Toyota did a really good job. And the thing that I really love about the Prius is the fact that it's been around for so long, and Toyota's just slowly improved it over time. Again, it's not the most exciting car, but they've focused on making it more and more efficient as time goes on, and more reliable as well. That's the important thing. Like, the Prius was one of the original hybrid vehicles, and so like we know that Toyota knows how to build hybrid vehicles, and so like this car coming out, like you're probably not gonna have to worry about anything when it comes to reliability. And so I would really be interested to hear from you, especially if you own an internal combustion engine car and if you're thinking about diving into the Prius world, or if you own an EV as well. Like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of EV buyers jumping into the Prius market, because although it won't have the crazy acceleration of an EV, again, you won't have to deal with that range anxiety. And I think the acceleration with EVs kind of gets canceled out, because most of the time you can't even use it because you're too worried about, again, running out of juice. You want to extend your range as much as possible. So you're like, okay, turn off the air conditioning, and okay, I gotta cruise at, you know, exactly 59.5 miles per gallon, or 59.5 miles per hour, so that I can get this amount of range. And it's just a whole mess with these EVs at this point. But that'll sum things up. I'll see you.